I had a request to make a video charting my own progress as a musician from a beginner to someone that's interested in learning about Baroque counterpoint and the music in particular of Johann Sebastian Bach. So I thought I'd try to make a brief video at this time to address some of that and to offer some suggestions of ways that you might go about getting these skills for yourself and primarily developing your ear to where what you're hearing is making sense to you in real time and you can anticipate and learn to improvise in this kind of style. It's what my entire channel is hoping to impart. I'm always hoping that this channel can be an inspiration to you if you decide to go down the path of learning to improvise. So I started at the age of 14 as a guitarist. I'm 60 years old now. I've had many, many private teachers, studied very hard. I tend to be a learner where if I get interested in something, I'm really going to dive into it and try to make my own sense of it. I was exposed to the music of Johann Sebastian Bach at a very early age, and it appealed quite a bit. I found it very memorable and very moving, and over the years have tried to get closer and closer to it in my own playing and my own understanding. I'd say the easiest way is to pick a few pieces of Bach's and really fall in love with them. For me, the entry point was the art of fugue, and I've listened to recordings of it literally hundreds of times. I can sing most of it all the way through. I can start somewhere in the middle of it and pick up a line, and I know where I am. I'm not thinking theoretically at all. This is the skill of being able to sing what you're hearing and anticipate in your mind what's coming next. So I have a fairly good musical memory, and once I hear things a few times, I can tend to remember them, not in a perfect pitch, absolute kind of way, but in a relative what comes next kind of a way, which is how I approach things. I've tried not to be overly theoretical in my studies over time. There's some need to. I think to be fluent in this style, you need to know all of the notes on the fingerboard. That's more or less a given, because at any particular time, we need to know this G sharp is the third of E7, or this G sharp is the root of G sharp minor, etc. So we need to be able to account for what's on the fingerboard, and then we need to know enough theory to, as I said, know that it's the major third, or it's the flat 7, or those kinds of more precision aspects of theory. I think that's fairly easy to come by. I do have videos on this channel that address some of that, but if you have questions, please do let me know. So outside of learning the fingerboard and some theoretical things, I can say that in my 20s, I studied Schenkerian Analysis with a private teacher. And the teaching of Schenker is really to reduce big chunks of music and intricate parts to very simple foundations. And it promotes a kind of structural hearing where, to really, really oversimplify it, and I hope I'm not offending any Schenkerians at all, you're winnowing things down to where you can really hear either a descending line of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the melody, or a descending line of 3, 2, 1 in the melody, and progressions that eventually winnow themselves down to 1, 5, 1. And if you look at the music of Bach, that's quite often what's happening. You have a 1 chord stated, you'll go through a bunch of things, there'll be a 5 chord and a resolution, and all of those things in between are prolongations of that final resolution. So Bach's art is in one sense an art of prolongation, of spinning out a melodic line and taking it through a lot of different flavors and colors before taking you back home. He might modulate by the end of the piece, but it's home nonetheless. So Schenker gave me an ability to hear things structurally, and there's courses online. I think you can find YouTube videos that very nicely go over Schenker. It's Schenkerian Enker. So it's worth checking into if you're interested in developing that kind of structural hearing. Certainly not mandatory at all. Then I want to say in the 90s somewhere, my friend Steve Herbermann made a series of recordings with Ted Greene where he asked him in a lesson, rather off the cuff, hey, what's that Baroque thing that you do? And Ted explained it a bit, and I think Steve came back later for another session and really asked Ted to hone in on what he's thinking and what his Baroque approach is. And Steve had given me copies of those videos decades ago, so I've had that music in my head, the music that Ted was trying to convey and improvise, and drew a lot of inspiration from that. And it's the inspiration for this channel in part, is to break down those things that Ted was talking about and try to expand on some of the concepts and let people see that when we play any given phrase, it's one station of that phrase, but that we could move it up or down in the scale, maintaining the same interval relationships, and come up with all of the, I like to call them cousins or friends and neighbors. So we'd come up with all of those other statements of the same phrase, but in different stations of the key, so they have different flavors and feelings. Many of the lessons and etudes on my channel are concerned with just that, and I think that's a great way to learn. Take a short phrase, a bar that you like of Bach. I'd recommend Bach because he's so whole and understandable and digestible. Very clear is what I mean by understandable. Take that and start moving it around. So in that case, something like a book like this, The Art of Fugue, in this piano edition by Carl Czerny. So it's a piano reduction where you got basically soprano, alto, tenor, and bass parts that you can take out. I found it very profitable to just take, say, the bass and the soprano, or the tenor and the soprano, alto and the bass. Take them by themselves, pull them out of these pieces, and just start to see how he's moving them. And for us, the musical universe is a finite one. So there's only so many pitches, there's only so many things that fit within the octave for us. There's only so many interval combinations that sound good to us and are suggestive of functional harmony. So it's not an overwhelming task, I hope, if you just get your basic theory together. What are major scales? What's a key? Where are the notes on the fingerboard? How to name things as far as what its setting is in the key at any given time. Is it the flat 7? Is it the 5th? Is it what kind of a third is it? That kind of thing. Another book that's along the same lines and very helpful is this older one by Alan Irving, The Contrapuntal Harmonic Technique of the 18th Century. And this is a book made up entirely of Bach examples. I think you can still find it in used bookstores or online and used online bookstores. So they'll take a little phrase of Bach and analyze it, give you all of the breakdown if you want theoretical breakdown, the implications of such things. So I've had this book for many years, and a lot of my students have used it successfully and enjoyably. So it's bite-sized, little bitty chunks. Another excellent series of books is this book on the Cello Suites by Alan Winold. Highly recommended. It's 2 volumes. It's usually about $60 US. So what he's done here is go through all of the cello suites and giving you harmonic analysis. Let's see, down here, harmonic analysis, chordal breakdown, what's happening harmonically, everything you'd want to know about the cello suites. And the cello suites are most instructive because it's single line music for the most part. So in Bach, the idea is a single line is describing both chords and a vertical structure. It seems like it's solely horizontal music, but at every point it's a horizontal structure as well. If you can hear it that way and start to hear it that way, that's an excellent way in. So my best advice for learning these things is, I'd seriously say, pick a playlist. From the playlists that I have available, the Melodic Motion Etudes are excellent in it'll start giving you phrases that you can move around. I want you to develop an intuition about, if I've just played this, what might come next, both thematically, musically, as well as in your intuition and where you want to take it. So the playlists on Melodic Motion Etudes are great for that. There's the lesson playlists. I'll put links to these things down below. There's contrary motion studies that are quite good. And really my primary advice, I'll wrap it up here, is to just be in love with what you do. Don't treat it as drudgery or that you're plowing through something to get to a goal somewhere else. The goal is out there. You will reach it if you have some dedication and perseverance. You'll get there for sure. The hearing that I have now would have been and was absolutely unimaginable to the 14-year-old that I was when I began. There's no way to explain what happens to your ear and your perception through this kind of study, and by emphasizing the ear in particular. Learn to sing parts from Bach's pieces. I love the Passions, the St. Matthew Passion and the St. John Passion in particular. The Mass in B minor is a monumental work and deserves great listening. The Goldberg Variations, the 1981, I believe, recording by Glenn Gould, is fantastic and well worth your time. There's a bunch of different recordings of the Art of Fugue by different ensembles and different solo players. It can be very nice to hear it on organ because the overtones start to mix in a way that's very interesting. Musical Offering is a bunch of variations on a very convoluted and chromatic theme, and that'll open your ear up a lot. Just really be in love with your pursuit of deepening your musical heart and opening it to something that you can bring out of your own. And my hope is that this would all lead you to your own music. And as always, I'm wishing you a very, very good day.